Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Yo, Chris.
That was weird. Hey, I'm Ben.
Also saying yo Chris makes it sound like you're saying hi to someone else who was Chris.
Yeah, that was actually very confusing.
I'm trying to switch it up.
Well, you fucked it up, is what you did. Anyhow, I've been fucking up all day, and I keep getting haptic feedback on it because my posture is bad. So I invested in the Upright Go. This isn't a product endorsement. I don't have to remember the exact name. But basically what it is, it's a little thing that I put in the small of my back and it kind of just sticks there. And whenever I lean forward and don't have good posture, it kind of just like vibrates to be like, stand up, you stupid fuck. Be straight. Don't ruin your back for the rest of your life.
Almost like a shock collar.
It's basically a shot collar.
Yeah, I guess I just did kind of get like a shock collar from my back, huh?
Yeah, you played yourself. Well done.
Good news, it works while it's on, and it's only a lot annoying.
So how upright are you sitting right now?
Horribly unupright because I'm just
you took it off?
naturally not sitting upright. I'm like, I'm reading. No, I'm not reading anything. I'm just doing it because I suck.
What's actually really funny is that you mentioned that you were going to, talk about this earlier today. And ever since then, I've been just like weirdly aware of my own posture, like the rest of the day.
It's a good positive thing to be aware of your posture.
No, yeah, it is. And I feel like I generally have decent posture because I was a band kid, but I've just been like thinking about it much more than I usually do. So thanks for that, Marcus.
You said you were going to talk about a posture trainer, and I imagined like a person coaching you on how to sit upright.
She's a very stern Russian woman who yells at you anytime you slouch.
I was like, oh, really? He's really getting serious about this.
The robots took their job. I will say it does have some downsides. Like, for example, I was doing something, and then I got a phone call from my boss. And so I was talking to my boss, and I had to like take notes. So I was like standing over a desk and like, leaned over to like take notes on a piece of paper, which obviously is not me standing upright. So like as I'm on the phone, my back's just going, and I'm like trying to like pay attention to my boss. It doesn't stop buzzing. It's not like once. It'll keep going at you until you stand upright.
I was gonna ask that because that seems like a thing that I was very like worried about with this, is that sometimes there are times you do have to, bend over or something. Is it just gonna like, can people hear it? Is this like a thing that people will notice is happening to you?
Yeah, it is slightly louder than my phone buzzing. And it's like that higher pitch vibration noise. So it's like,
right.
It travels a little further.
See, I didn't realize you were wearing this at work, but I guess that's where you spend like most of your day.
Yeah, that's where my posture's the worst. Like I'll just get back from work and I'll be like, oh my God, why?
Right.
So, trying to be healthy, I guess, and it's been a challenge. And I'm on like day 2, and I'm like, man, I'm starting to develop a love-hate relationship with this thing. Because you're just like, fucking shut up! But like at the same time, you're like, oh God, thank you. So yeah, that's been my day. But now my day's gonna get better because we're gonna talk about a cool thing, which is, what if you could perfectly control ants? Benny, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I did a lot of research on ants for this. One of the cool things that I think I already knew, but I was reminded of, is that ants don't have ears. And they just sort of sense vibrations instead of actually like hearing the way we do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So and that's also the main way they will communicate, is there are a lot of ants who will do stuff where like if they need to like alert their nests of stuff, they'll just like drum their abdomens down on the ground of the nest, and the ants around them will start doing it too until it just like spreads throughout the nest to like alert each other.
That's kind of crazy. So like, if you jam a vibrator into an ant hole,
oh, they will get fucked up.
They will be upset, and they won't know what the fuck is going on.
They'll be upset on many levels, but yeah. So the other thing about ants is that obviously most of the time they are very protective of their nests, and I realized that when you sort of combine these two features, you have the makings of actually a very good home security system.
Interesting.
Which I tried to think of a good pun-related name for. It was actually pretty hard. So I think the best name I came up with is Alarmy Ants.
Okay.
The problem with that is that army ants are actually very bad for this because they're nomadic. So that one's kind of out. There's a lot of stuff with if
you have a mobile home, you can just go. You can travel with them.
Perfect. You follow your ants. Something about like home defense. I don't know. I also had
Ants in your
just
pants.
I had just ADT, but the A stands for ant. Which, fun fact, apparently ADT used to be a telegraph company. So ADT actually stands for American District Telegraph. They just never changed the name when they started doing alarms. I don't know. Whatever, guys. You could have done that, but who knows. I guess it could also just be ANT. That kind of works.
Yep, that's better.
That's probably better. Regardless, anyway. So figure you have a few kinds of ants you're going to be using in this system. So kind of your first line of defense around like the outside of your house is going to be some fire ants. Because fire ants...
Ooh.
So, one, obviously,
Yes.
their bites fucking suck. They're not good. Very not good. They live in, like, mounds, which the fact that they're, like, visible mounds is actually a good thing, because that's basically your equivalent of, like, the little signs you put out that say, like, protected by whoever. You just have, like...
Every time I see one of those signs in, like, a suburb, I'm like, you don't have a fucking home security system.
Oh, no. Most actually,
You're just
I think,
cheap fuck.
I think that is very much a thing people do. Because, like, you're not going to try to rob a house that's a sign out.
But that's just the way my brain works, personally. Not on them, don't put the sign out for your home security system. Good, do put the sign out.
No, yeah,
But
definitely do.
my first instinct is, you're a liar. You could just buy this sign, probably.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so those mounds are kind of the equivalent of that sign. You'll probably also have a sign that says, like, don't come in here, you will get bitten by ants, or something along those lines.
Beware of ants.
Yeah, beware of ants. The other cool thing with fire ants is that their workers can make underground tunnels that can extend up to 25 feet away from the mound. So you have just, like, a couple of mounds out and then, like, tunnels around. And as people, like, walk over your lawn to, like, get to your house, they'll, like, feel them and, you know, send up the alarm.
Yeah, it'll be like a sprinkler system, but instead of, water, it's fire ants.
Yeah. Also, a fun thing with fire ants, they actually, so the, like, venom they use isn't, like, actually from their mandibles. They bite you to get, like, a grip on you, and then inject you with a chemical compound.
With what? What do they inject you with? What's the injector?
I think they have a stinger in their stomach, or something like that.
A tummy stinger?
Yes.
Ugh.
Yep. Fire ants. Not fun. So, that's outside pretty much covered pretty well. And I think that's going to take care of most of any, like, intruders. They're just going to, like, get swarmed by fire ants and just be out of there. If they do get inside, though, you need to have some more, defenses in there. So for inside, you have Camponotus ants, carpenter ants. So they live in wood. So you just put up some nice, like, decorative, importantly, non-load-bearing columns, and they just post up in there.
That's going to be a very, like, accelerated training schedule to teach the ants which ones are the non-structural columns and which ones are the structural columns.
We said perfectly controlled,
the question
so...
is perfectly.
Yep, so we have these powers. This was set up in the question.
So if your house falls down, it's not their fault, it's your fault.
Right, exactly. You were not clear enough to your ants. It's all about communication.
Yeah, you better rub your butt against the ground in the right manner or else they're going to kill your house.
So their bites also do really suck. They have very strong mandibles. They, like, chew through wood, so they can definitely chew through flesh. And they also spray formic acid into the bite wounds they cause.
Ugh, why can't things just bite anymore nowadays?
I guess it's just not
Why
enough.
does acid have to be involved?
A lot of ants use acid. Jesus, I can't talk today. Not being able to talk is a great thing when you're recording a podcast. So in addition to just the vibration thing, you kind of want some backup detection system as well. Because, like, eventually someone could figure it out and just, like, move really carefully. So fortunately, Myrmecia, bulldog ants, have excellent vision. Like, for ants, at least. Well, no, actually, it is actually pretty good. So they can determine the distance and size of moving objects nearly a meter away, which doesn't sound that impressive, but apparently that's better than, like, cats and dogs. And they can also see UV light. So theoretically, you could put up, like, a UV light in your house, and then they could just, like, keep watch all night.
Or see the ghosts. Ghost Patrol.
I don't think you can see ghosts in UV light. I don't think that's how it works.
Well, how would you know? You can't see it.
Guys, I don't think ghosts exist.
Also that. Also, of course, bulldog ants can also sting things, and it's very painful and occasionally lethal. So just once again, bad times for anyone who's trying to break in. In case someone does get in and is braving the ants, you do want to be able to, like, identify them later if they do manage to get out. So this is where we turn to the Colobopsis explodens,
Oh,
the exploding
I know where
ant
this is going.
yep,
Yeah.
that lives in Borneo.
It's like you are not disguising that with a scientific name because you said Explodus.
Yep.
I found this particular set of ants too in my research.
Yep. So sort of jumping ahead of Chris here. Yeah, they explode when they're threatened. And they shower their foe with a bright yellow, toxic, sticky liquid that apparently smells kind of like curry.
Yep.
So when you give your description to the police, it's a dirty guy who smells like
Yeah,
curry.
it smells like curry and is covered in bright yellow liquid.
I think they're just gonna think you're being racist, though.
Only if you make it racist, Marcus. You have to be very clear that it's because of something you did they smell like curry. Nothing about the person. And basically these are just kind of like a die pack at a bank. So if someone does get out, they can, get identified later. And then finally, your enforcer is, of course, the bullet ant for when you really need to mess someone up.
Yep. I'd heard about these guys.
So bullet ants can get up to 1 inch long, which is already just terrifying enough on its own. And their bite is excruciatingly painful and lasts for hours. I watched a video of a guy who got bitten by one.
Oh, no, that's horrible.
And yeah, he was like screaming and like his hands were shaking and like he couldn't get them to stop shaking and like he was sweating. And after a couple hours, they took him to the hospital and put him on morphine and he could still feel it. It didn't go away for like 12 hours.
Yeah, well, that's why they call them the bullet ants, is because the pain of that is the equivalent to a gunshot.
Yeah. So this is kind of your like, you don't need many of these guys around. But you kind of if you get one of them in there on the person, they're just done. Like they are not going to be doing anything in your house anymore. They are out.
Hey, Ben, I'm not sure if you came across this, but one more fun fact about the bullet ant is that they tend to live in trees in Australia, and they're territorial. So when you walk under a bullet ant tree, they jump off the tree onto you while shrieking, and it's audible.
Yep. So bullet ants are kind of the top of the line ant security system. They are absolutely terrifying, and I hope I never ever encounter one. Also, a fun thing about the bullet ant is that there is a tribe an indigenous tribe somewhere in Australia, I don't remember where, that their like coming of age ritual for young boys is to have them wear gloves full of bullet ants for like 10 minutes at a time.
Yikes. I thought it was like have one bullet ant bite, but no, that's fucked up.
They do that, I believe, 20 times.
20 times?
20 times.
So 10 ants 20 times.
No, 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
The other fun thing is that bullet ants, when they start biting, they also, I think it's a pheromone they release that basically tells all the other ants around them to also start biting. So, yeah. In conclusion, don't mess with bullet ants, and ants will be a very good security system.
Yeah, honestly, I could put out a sign in my front yard that says, I don't know where it is, but there is one bullet ant in my house. Google it. And my house will never be robbed.
Yeah, I feel like you don't need any of the other types of ants. You just need the bullet ant.
Yeah, I kind of added the other ones in because they were fun, but the bullet ants are probably enough. So, that's my answer. Hey, Marcus, what did you do?
Okay, so I'm going to go and sing the praises of the ant. You so quickly dismissed the army ant. So, these are the ants, if you ever watched the Discovery Channel or the Nature Channel or whatever, that like to build the bridges and like floating like boats of ants to get across terrain. So they are nomadic, so their whole hive moves, and basically they just stop every once in a while and like build a ant dome around their queen and larva, and then just like the next day they keep going because the ant colony is so big and they need so much food that they actually have to like keep moving to like have new things to hunt. So they're pretty cool. But what's I think interesting about them, and where they are going to be useful when you can train them, is that they're very good at certain types of like problem solving with how they build their bridges and how they do scouting. So when they encounter an obstacle, they will build the bridge at like a convenient point and then move the bridge to optimize the amount of ants in the bridge versus how much distance they're saving.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so the way that works is this. So what makes it pretty even more interesting, I'm going to keep using that word, but is that they don't know, there's no leader ant telling them what to do. So each ant only has the information that it itself has. So the way they do these structures is they only follow 2 rules. 1, if they feel an ant walk across their back, they stop. And 2, if they're stopped and they don't feel a certain number of ants crossing their back, like, per second or, per some amount of time, they'll let go and continue the march. So they all have like a notion of where to march to, but the structures are completely circumstantial based on just these 2 rules. So basically what happens is you have this whole horde of ants moving, and one ant gets to a ledge, and it's like, oh, I have to stop. Then the ant behind him is like still moving, and so ends up walking on top of him, and he's like, oh, now I have to stop. But he's like slightly more forward. And so like this pile of ant forms at the ledge, and eventually one ant makes it to the other side, and then that ant ants will continue over him, and they like make this natural bridge going around. So what it does is it kind of solves the traveling salesman problem. So this is kind of like a famous puzzle for computers where you have a salesman, he has all these deliveries to make to all these different cities. All the cities are only open during certain times, and the question is, what's the most efficient route for him to take to, be the best salesman? And so it's like very complicated variables, so many options, like it's basically just like computers iterate on it a whole bunch. But the ants are actually naturally suited the way they work to actually just solve this just kind of brute force by having a bunch of ants attack it. And where this traveling salesman problem is useful is in city planning. So it's kind of like traffic. So if you want to get a bunch of people that are trying to go different places and you want to get them there efficiently, if you could build a scale model of this for ants and then put the ants in, you could see where they build the bridges to find out where you would need to build a real life bridge for the people.
Interesting.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and what's kind of cool about that is that you don't even really need to have this perfectly controlled ants ability. Ants could just do this already.
Right, yeah.
Why aren't we doing this now?
I wonder if maybe like they actually are kind of slow, or you can't get the ants to, have the right goals. Like if you can control the ants, what you get is you can be like, I want this section of this many ants to want to go to this side, and I want this many ants to want to do this. And so you could give them new inputs so they can use their problem solving abilities to go do all these different things.
You give them just the goals and then let them figure out the best solution. That's actually really cool.
Yeah. And so another thing I looked at is, so all these ants are building bridges and all these boats and stuff to help their ant people across. I'm like, could you scale this up? Could you make an actual full-size bridge out of ants? And so I was looking it up, and like the very first thing I found was this video of like this big mess of ants, like, maybe like 50 ants over a small gap. And this guy put like this little bit of force like at the middle of the bridge, and it just like fucking disintegrated. Because
So
it
the
turns
answer is
out,
no.
yeah. So one side instinct they have, like when they're in this bridge form, is that if the bridge gets too heavy, they think there's too many ants on the bridge. So their instinct is to move ants away from the center of the bridge, which, if you know anything about bridge support, is where you need the ants to keep the bridge steady.
Right.
So basically what you would have is if you had an ant bridge that was strong enough to hold a car, say, the car would go over and get to the middle of the bridge, and then you would just slowly watch the whole bridge just dissolve and slowly move away from the center and dump the car into the river.
I was looking forward to hearing how many ants you would need to build a whole bridge, but you probably didn't go that deep if you found out it wouldn't work this early.
Yeah, it was comical how little support the bridge had. So I was like, oh. So if you actually did it, you would need just like, I don't know, so many ants. You'd probably have to just fill the river with ants.
Right, yeah, I was going to say, you're just making a dam for the river out of ants and just trying to cross it.
There are a lot of ants in the world, so you probably have enough.
This is true.
Yeah, you would. I mean, you have about the same amount of biomass of people as ants, so if you can fill a river, make a dam out of people, you can make a dam out of ants. I don't know why I made that analogy. You don't make dams out of people, but...
I mean, maybe you don't. What? Anyway.
I think it's time to get out of my answer now. Chris, tell me a little bit about your perfectly trained ants and what they're going to do.
Okay, so in Ben's answer, he mentioned that ants, they communicate with vibration and stuff, and he also mentioned a little bit about the pheromones. I'm going to focus on the pheromones. So the pheromones are like a big way that ants communicate with each other, and they have like a ton of different types of pheromones for like different uses. So they have mating pheromones, obviously for
Obviously
mating.
a popular choice.
Yes. Sometimes they use pheromones to like mark enemies. So like if there's an intruder, then they mark it, and then all the other ants know that that one's an intruder.
Oh.
Yeah, which is very useful. Sometimes if they're like looking for food and they find, because like ants, they like radiate outward and like scavenge for stuff. So if they find a piece of food, then they'll take the food and they'll bring it back to the nest, but on their way back, they'll leave a trail of pheromones that other ants can follow. And when the other ants follow it, they're led to more food. So it's like a self-feeding trail, which is kind of cool, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They also have alarm pheromones. So like if an ant gets crushed, then it releases this alarm pheromone and it makes like all the other ants freak out and basically just puts them in like attack mode.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So don't crush ants. They'll attack you. And then they have what they call propaganda pheromones, which they... It's a weird name that they gave it. I don't know why they said it. They basically just use them to confuse their enemies. It actually makes enemies like fight against each other.
Like enemy ants or like other bugs?
It wasn't clear. They just said enemies. So I'm gonna assume ants, other enemy ants, but I don't know. But the thing about all these pheromones is that a lot of them give off like a certain scent to them. So there are different ants.
That pheromones.
Yeah. But some of them are like recognizable to us. So I was thinking, why don't we use these pheromones to make perfumes?
Ooh, yeah. People love putting exotic shit on their bodies.
And
for
we can
no
charge
reason.
like a ton of money because people like to buy perfume.
I thought you were gonna say because we have a niche market, we are the only people who can do this. But no, just yeah, the perfume industry is booming. We can charge a lot because people like it.
I mean, it's like a luxury thing, sort of. If you, like, celebrities have their own perfume lines. We can have our own ant perfume line.
Maybe we can get an Ant-Man tie-in.
Can we call it... Okay, we gotta come up... Do you have a name?
I don't.
Oh, I got one. Pheromone. That's probably already one. But that's a good one.
Okay, I like it.
Okay, you guys don't want to play with me in this space, I see.
I'm trying to think of more, but I'm very bad at ant puns.
I have trained my whole life for this moment, and I'm failing.
Ooh, I got another idea.
What?
Not your aunt's perfume.
Okay, I like that.
Except
I like that better.
It's a very long name.
That's
I
very
like it better
good.
than the pheromone.
Plus, that one's definitely already taken. That's such an easy name.
Yeah, that one's just sitting out there.
So yeah, there are different types of ants that smell like different things. So the yellow ant, there are actually two. So there's the smaller yellow ant and the larger yellow ant. They got very creative with that name.
Which one's bigger?
But these ants both smell like citrus, which is pleasant, very pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
That's like perfect for a perfume. You could also, I guess, use this in like candles and stuff too. Just anything scented.
I'd
really.
smell it. 10 out of 10 would smell again.
And then another type of ant is the Dolichodurinae.
Dolichodurinae, yep.
I don't. It must have. I think it has like a common name, but I couldn't find it. But that's its scientific name.
Ant.
And these ants smell like blue cheese.
What?
So yeah. Actually, yeah. I think the common name is actually the blue cheese ant.
That's
now that
amazing.
I'm thinking about it.
What if your house was infected with these? That would be horrible.
There's like a whole subset of ants that smell like blue cheese. So
Hey, why? What
That's
is
a
nature
thing.
doing?
And I think the scent is actually produced from like the anal glands. So I don't know what that says about anything, but
Butt cheese.
You're saying it's anal blue cheese.
It's a great
Yes.
band name.
I don't know if I would call that a great band name.
It's a band name.
It's a band name.
What genre is anal blue cheese?
Oh,
they gotta be a bluegrass band.
and then also included in this blue cheese family is also, it's a different type of ant called the odorous house ant. And they're in the same family, but they actually smell like coconut.
Oh,
which is pleasant.
That's nice.
You think that's pleasant, but most people actually describe it as like rotting coconut.
Oh yeah, I did hear that too.
Not quite as nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that's perfumes anyway. It's like, you're gonna smell like chocolate, and by chocolate, I mean ass.
And then the last type of ant I found, Ben already mentioned the exploding ant, and he already mentioned the curriness that they explode from. Because I was looking up how these exploding ants actually explode, and I thought it was kind of weird. So they have like all this goo stuff in their body, and they point their bodies up.
Yeah.
And they like flex their body hard enough that all the goo just pressurizes out.
It's like a goo bladder
that rips them apart from the inside.
But yeah, it smells like curry. So those were the 4 scents I got. There's the citrus, blue cheese, coconut, curry. You could like mix these together.
Yeah, the most important building blocks of perfumes.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, the 4 main categories. Everything else is just a derivative of those.
Yeah.
Right? It's like blue, green, yellow.
Yeah.
Did I just say blue, green, yellow?
Blue, green, yellow, and curry.
Blue cheese,
obviously.
green, and yellow curry.
Yeah, so you can make basically any scent with these 4 scents. What?
Sorry, I don't know why I was interrupting. I didn't realize you were still talking. I just didn't have anything to say.
Okay.
We have gone off the rails.
I mean, I'm basically done with my answer. I don't have much else to say. So, perfume.
I don't know. I think I'd buy it.
I'd buy it too.
I mean, not the blue cheese one, because that's fucking gross.
I have always wanted to smell like blue cheese personally.
Well, maybe we'll have a blue cheese smelling thing in one of our ads coming up.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Muhammad Ali or Bruce Lee? Star Wars or Star Trek? Cake or pie? Do these sound familiar? Chances are you've argued over these exact topics with your closest friends. Double chances are you've never come to an agreement. Unsettled arguments can be frustrating. They can also be harmful to your friendship. Don't let the tension linger. Settle your ties with lies. Introducing Tie Faker. It's the incredibly fake tiebreaker. We aim to end all disagreements in your favor. Here's how it works. Choose from our wide selection of expert fakers to infiltrate your group of friends. Next time you and your buddy find yourselves at an impasse, just nod to your faker and they'll step in. Majority rules, you win. All of our fakers are classically trained actors instructed to ignore their own personal opinions and agree with you no matter what. Now try out our premium plan, where we offer celebrity fakers. Utilize the credibility of fame to settle your arguments. That's right, Taylor Swift agrees with you. A hot dog totally counts as a sandwich. Game, set, match. So next time someone disagrees with you about anything, remember tie fakers, used and approved by NASA.
Hi everyone, Mark here from Bitchin' Bits. When it's time to treat your dog, we've been there for years with our top-of-the-line dog treats. And in those years, we developed some bold and exciting flavors, such as bacon, smoked bacon, bacon with cheese, bacon with peanut butter, smoked bacon barbecue, the list goes on. Yes, it's mostly bacon. And that leaves us both in a bit of an awkward spot, because we know what you've been thinking. You, Mr. or Mrs. Human, also love bacon. And aren't you just the teensiest bit curious? We know you are, so that's why we are introducing Bitchin' Bits for people. The same great taste, the same great product, but repackaged in a bag that doesn't make you look like some kind of psychopath when you eat them. Get the salty sweet bacon taste in a bag clearly marked for human consumption. Don't be ashamed, start bitchin' about Bitchin' Bits.
Looking for an innovative new way to strengthen your body and your willpower? Try the groundbreaking new spin class, Original Spin. Our instructors will do everything in their power to get you to stop cycling. It'll seem so easy to stop, but know that if you give in, you'll be expelled from the class forever. Cool down after class with a walk through our garden and a freshly picked apple. Original Spin. Come on, you know you want to.
Alright, welcome back everybody. Man, some of those ads are really cool, which is appropriate because our next question is about ice.
Yeah, that was kind of smooth, I guess.
I stopped for a legitimate minute to think of that segue
Like
before we
ice,
started recording.
Ice, cold, ice,
Cool.
Everything's cool.
I mean, it was the first thing I thought of, and I just spent another minute trying to think of something better, and it didn't come to me. And
So you settled.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got shit to do, besides this podcast. So what? Gotta get it going. So anyway, Chris, what if the floor was ice?
Okay, so just to set some parameters for like how we figured out this was going to work. before we came up with our answers. So when we say floor, it's indoors and outdoors. So like the street outside is ice, everything outside is ice, and our floor inside is ice. And we were saying that this happens instantly, but we've had about a year to adapt to it. So people have come up with solutions to different problems by now. We said that the ice is like just below freezing. It's not super cold. It's like 31 degrees, something like that.
Yep.
We said that the ocean, like the ground under the ocean is ice. So like the ocean floor is ice.
Right, so you have a body of water, the water's over the ice instead of freezing over.
Yeah. We said that it doesn't affect plants because we've had way too many questions that like plants are dead and then everything just dies. And that's no fun.
Yeah, it gets pretty depressing after a while.
Yeah, I did not need to do another plant answer. I think we did like 2 or 3 of them in the recent past. So if you want to know what happens if all the plants die, just go back a few episodes.
Yeah, we already know what happens.
Yeah, if you try one of our prior episodes, you have like a 1 in 4 chance of hitting one of them, so just go for it.
Do you guys remember one off the top of your head exactly which question it was?
I know I did it in What If All Plants Were Carnivorous?
There you go.
Yeah,
that's
there's
one.
one. That one does it.
That's a whole question about plants.
Yeah.
Yep.
We also said that the ice doesn't melt, so it's always ice, no matter how hot it is. We said it's irremovable, so like if you try to remove it, then it's not going to really work.
It'll just like ice back over.
Yeah, it won't stay removed.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can like anchor things into it if you want.
Yeah. So it's still like a strength of ice, but you can kind of get through it.
Right. So I think that was all the parameters.
Yeah, that sounds like about it. So
the way I approached this question was I wanted to look at your daily life in ice world. So you wake up and it's going to be pretty cold in your house because there's ice everywhere. So you're going to need a lot of blankets. You're going to need like 5 blankets or something.
Do blankets have diminishing returns after like 3?
You need 5. I did intense calculations. You need 5.
The heat transfer rate is too much through 4.
Yeah. You'll need heaters too, obviously, because heaters heat things and it'll be cold. That's the explanation of that.
Good analysis, Doc.
Yes.
I know it's a complicated subject, but
And I think your bed will actually be elevated because heat rises. So you want to get like as close to the ceiling as possible. So you're basically just going to be like sleeping with your face like up against the ceiling.
right.
Top bunk is going to be the new call. Well, top bunk's the normal call anyway, right?
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So you're going to get out of bed, and normally your furniture would like slide around and stuff. So I looked up the coefficient of friction of different materials on ice. And I kind of just assumed that most furniture is going to have wood on the bottoms, like the part that's in contact with the ground. And the coefficient of friction of wood on ice for the static coefficient is 0.05. That means that the friction is dependent on the weight of the object. So I also found a chart with like average weights of different furniture. So for a queen size bed, the average weight is about 100 pounds. And with the coefficient of friction I found, that would mean that you need 5 pounds of force to move it, to make it slide on the ice. That's not a lot. So it's going to be sliding around.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, the coefficient of friction on, say, concrete is 0.6. So ice is 12 times slipperier.
Slippy.
Slippy, no! Fucking Star Fox Frog.
A 4-cushion sofa is 175 pounds, and that will require 8.75 pounds of force to move, which still isn't a lot. The biggest thing on the list was a full-size grand piano, and that weighs 800 pounds. And that you might be okay with because you need 40 pounds of force to move it. I mean, you would be able to move it if you really tried, I think. But if you're just like leaning up against it, it's not going to move.
Okay.
Yeah, 40 pounds isn't that much. Like, you can lift like a good, I don't know, 80 to 100 pounds pretty easy.
Yeah, but you're gonna be on ice, so like you can't push off of anything.
Oh yeah, so I guess it'll be you push and you go backwards way more than the piano does.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you have a piano, it might be fine, but all your other furniture you're going to need to anchor into the ground just so it doesn't move around. So you get out of bed, and obviously it's hard to walk because it's slippery. And you could use ice skates, but the thing is, indoors it's not the greatest for ice skates. It's closed quarters. Like, it's going to be hard to maneuver. So I figured you could just have like a chair, like a legless chair or something, and you could like push off of things from the chair.
That sounds fun.
Scoot around, scoots.
Yeah, and it has to be like it has to have a low center of gravity so you don't tip over. But I think you could get pretty much everywhere in your house like that. That would work out.
Do you have a plan for stairs?
I will get to stairs.
Okay, cool.
I will get there.
Just making sure it's coming.
So you go to breakfast, or you go to your kitchen to make breakfast, and you don't need a refrigerator because everything's cold anyway. You can probably just throw your food on the ground, and it'll stay fresh for a while.
Sanitary. It's not sure how sanitary that is.
Yeah, just throw it on. It's fine.
Actually, no. I think I would get into the habit of just like you have all your grocery bags and you just like fucking chuck them in a corner and just like go get
just
them.
Put it on the ground. You don't need to put it away.
So yeah, honestly, like 1 point against, it's slippery. 1.4, don't have to put away groceries. So
yeah. And then you'll make breakfast, you'll eat breakfast, and then you want to go to work. So you leave your apartment, and then as Ben mentioned, stairs are a problem. So if you live in an apartment building, stairs are just going to be way too dangerous. Or, I mean, some houses have stairs too. So basically, it's a year out. So I think all stairs are just going to like not exist anymore.
We're going to need something.
Well, you have elevators. Elevators work.
I don't have an elevator in my house.
Yeah, but...
Or my apartment. Well, yeah, my apartment building doesn't have one.
You'll build an elevator. I mean, you can have like a slide and a ladder. That'll work.
I feel like ladders still gonna be tricky. So actually, what if you just had like a ramp with like a rope anchored at the top you pull yourself up with?
Yeah, that's good.
That would work too, but that's a lot of work. Especially if you're like in the 10th floor or something.
I just feel like ladders are going to be really, really risky.
Especially because the bottom is going to have to definitely be anchored.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm on the ramp plan. That sounds fun.
Okay.
Sorry,
right.
Chris.
And the ramp doubles as a slide, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. Getting down the stairs is going to be great. I would get up so early for work if I could just slide down 10 flights of stairs to get there.
I don't know if a slide made of ice would be the greatest.
Spoilers, yes, it is.
Okay. So you get outside and you need to get to work. Obviously, you don't have a car because all the streets are ice. A car isn't going to work. I mean, it'll work, but it won't like get you anywhere.
Poorly.
Yeah. And you could like ice skate, I guess. If you live like somewhere relatively level, then you could ice skate somewhere. But if you live somewhere with a lot of hills, you're not going to be able to go uphill at all.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hills in general are just pretty bad.
Kind of a one-way street, yeah.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the things I looked at when I didn't think about the hill problem. So like, you can go pretty fast speed skating. Definitely enough to get you to work. But yeah, no, hills, ooh, that first hill.
You can't go up. Actually, I was thinking of this, like, if it happened instantly, all the cars would just, like, gather it at the low point of the city. Just have a pool of cars. I don't know, that was interesting to me. Yeah, so instead of cars, I think the only vehicle that really works is a helicopter.
Okay.
I think you can use, like, a snowmobile. I think those work on ice.
I don't know if that works on ice uphill.
They have, like, treads? Oh, maybe not uphill still.
I don't think it works uphill.
Yeah, I don't know. All right.
So everyone's going to have their own personal helicopter, and that's just going to replace cars. And
well, a select few are going to have their own personal helicopters.
Well, there'll be like some sort of government program to get people replace their cars with helicopters.
I feel like landing a helicopter is going to be a dicey proposition on ice.
I mean, it'll be a transition period.
No, I disagree, Ben, because the helicopters land vertically. There's not a lot of horizontal.
But
it'll still be kind of tricky, I think, but it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, that's true.
And we had a whole year to learn this, so everyone knows how to fly a helicopter. I don't really know how like traffic will work with helicopters.
Poorly.
It'll be kind of confusing, yeah. But we'll manage. And then you make it to work. You'll have your own personal sliding chair at work too, so you can slide places.
I already have my own personal chair at work.
Well, I can also slide in.
Yeah, does it slide on ice? I think
it
not.
slides on not ice. It's got wheels. It's going to be double slidey on ice.
Yeah, and then you just finish your workday, take your helicopter home, and go sleep. And that is your daily life with ice.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Not ice.
Guys, do you get it? They rhyme. They
Yeah.
almost sound the same. Nice and ice.
Nice.
Nice.
Not ice. Yeah.
Anyway, Ben, what do you have?
So I very much looked into sort of the is everything going to be super, super cold question and depth? Because that was a question that kind of I sort of immediately thought of. Which one quick, like, aside, I feel like so many times on this show, I wind up looking up things that are very popular, like middle school science projects, but that I can't actually find the answer to things for. It's really annoying.
Yeah, you just get like the whole experiment, but like the data's like blank.
Right,
just,
yeah.
Like, fill it in yourself. And
Exactly,
it's like,
yeah.
It's time to do science.
There's a conspiracy among scientists to not say, like, the conductivity of Jell-O or, like, how, things like that, because they get used for middle school science projects and they don't want kids to be able to cheat on their assignments. But anyway, so is a constant layer of ice on the ground going to make it really fucking cold all the time? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is.
Oh, damn.
Didn't see that coming.
So sort of to expound on that, sort of heat is just like the transfer of thermal energy between stuff. So, things try to reach an equilibrium. So if you have a cold thing in a hot area, the cold thing is going to heat up as it pulls in thermal energy, and then the surrounding area will get a little bit colder. So I actually read this thing. I was kind of wondering what, like, the effects of having, like, ice in a room would be. And I found this thing where this guy, basically, he didn't have an AC, and it was really hot, and he wanted to figure out if freezing, like, filling up a 2-liter, like, Coke bottle with water, and then freezing it, and then putting it in front of a fan would actually cool down his room. Room was, like, 20 by 12 by 8. He said that the ambient temperature was, like, 77 degrees, and the ice was 14 degrees. Both Fahrenheit. So colder than our ice, but it winds up being kind of irrelevant. So we'll get to that. And with perfect conditions with regards to, like, efficiency and, like, air leakage and stuff like that, that would cool the room by about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. That 2-liter block of ice.
What?
That's a good amount.
It's a lot more than I expected. Well, and in practice, it would not actually be that big of a difference because, like, cool air is going to leak out from the windows, and, like, it's not going to be a perfect seal in the room, and the, like, transfer is not going to be 100% efficient between, like, the bottle and the room. But even if you, like, assume, like, overall 20% efficiency, that's 4 degrees from a lot less ice than we're talking about here. So it is going to have an effect, definitely. And this is where we sort of bring up the elephant in the room, that obviously this never melting ice 100% breaks physics entirely because
Yay!
Yeah, well,
I like when we break physics.
so here's the problem, is that the ice doesn't melt, which means that the ice never gets any hotter. The temperature doesn't change. So that means that we basically just effectively have an infinite heat sink that is suddenly the world.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as that statement sounds.
Sounds pretty bad.
It is pretty bad, but my original plan was to figure out, like, if there's this much energy coming down from the sun, and this much, like,
Being absorbed by the surface.
gap of energy, from the ice, like, how much is it going to deplete? What is the eventual impact going to be? But what I eventually realized is that a year out, it's just always going to be fucking the temperature of the ice. Like, that's just kind of it. Like, it may get a little bit warmer during the day because of the amount of energy that comes down, like in the summer, but overnight it is definitely always going to get back down to the temperature of the ice because it has to.
Which I guess that's not that bad if we're saying that it's 31 degrees.
Right, it's not, that is livable. Like, it's not good. I'm not happy about this.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, yeah, but people live in the Arctic.
Yeah, technically, I would point out that, like, in Boston over the winter, there were days when it was like 20. It would actually heat up on those days.
That's gonna be great. I'm gonna like that. I would love if the temperature was just always. I think if it was always 32 degrees, it would just feel fine.
So it's basically just living in San Diego, but instead of always being like 78, it's just always like 31. Which, once again, it's not great. Like, let's be 100% upfront about this. I'm not happy about this situation, but you will get used to it, and it's not going to be, like, fatal.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. For once.
It being a bit nippy is not the it's not the end all be all.
For once, it is actually not the end of the world. We made progress, guys. There are some ramifications from all of this, obviously. People are going to wear a lot of coats and stuff, and yes, blankets. I don't actually know how much good. I guess, like, space heaters will be useful just to, like, if you're, like, working at a desk, like, having a space heater there will make you feel a little bit warmer. Like, that will help. So you'll probably have, that kind of stuff, but it's going to be expensive because, yeah. Couple other things. So batteries are actually very affected by temperature.
Oh, really?
Particularly, like, cold temperature has a very bad effect on batteries. I know below freezing, a lot of times they'll just stop working, basically because batteries are like a chemical reaction, and at certain temperatures, that reaction just stops happening.
Oh, wow. And here I thought cold was good for electronics. All this super cooling and bullshit they put in my computer is killing my batteries.
A little different.
So I don't think anything will just stop working like that battery-wise, because they will be warmer because they are running. But I know the batteries do have to work harder, and they're less efficient in cold, so your batteries will last less long, which isn't great. I think they'll also charge more slowly, I'm pretty sure. So also, apparently in all of this research, I learned that the exact mechanisms of all this is not actually 100% understood, which is kind of...
I love when that happens.
Yeah. Thanks, science. You're great.
It's like the aerodynamics of squid that one time. Science didn't know about that shit
Right,
either.
yeah. I think that batteries, I think that we have wrought ourselves, we would have a little more understanding of, but apparently not.
Well, squids are a thing God crafted, Ben, so we should have a little bit of understanding of that too.
No. I disagree. And then one other thing that's not really related to the actual coldness, but I thought of that I just wanted to bring up. That's not something you'd really think of necessarily, but sunscreen and sunglasses are actually going to be very important because ice is reflective.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be very bright.
And so it's going to be very bright when the sun is out. And then also you're actually going to it's going to be much easier to get a sunburn because you will basically be getting... The light from the sun will reflect off the ice and come back onto you again. It's like, this is actually a very big problem that like mountain climbers have and like people out in the Arctic have, is that you effectively are getting it's not straight like double, but you are getting a decent portion of the radiation from the sun on your skin twice because you get it coming down at you and then up at you again off the ice or snow or whatever.
And it's like counterintuitive because you feel cold all the time.
Right, but you will totally get sunburned. So, just wear sunscreen, as weird as that feels, as you're bundling up.
Yeah, get naked in the 32 on your ice floor and put on sunscreen.
What you do in your spare time, Marcus, is all up to you. But yeah, that's kind of it for me. It will be very cold, and that's going to suck. So, Marcus, what did you do?
I mean, in my spare time, I researched this question about what if the floor was ice. That's what I actually did, Ben. Thank you very much. Not weird, suntan lotion shit. So the very first thing I thought of was actually skiing. I was like, oh man, that's going to become a badass sport because you're not on some powdery snow shit. You're just like straight ice, just going down.
That'd be super dangerous.
Oh, that sounds so bad.
So I was like, how fast can you go skiing? And so I looked it up. The top skiing speed, which I actually, when I put in my Google search bar, I almost deleted the second speed because I thought it was redundant in the search. I'm like, Google doesn't need to know I put the word in speed twice. But the top skiing speed is 96.6 miles an hour.
That is very fast.
Yeah.
It is fast as fuck. So I was like, can you go faster on ice skates? And it turns out terminal velocity is 122 miles an hour. So there's really not much faster that you can go. You're basically already capped regular skiing, so I abandoned that idea. So what I realized is when the whole outside is icy and slippery, windy days kind of become a problem.
Oh.
Because as Chris mentioned, anything not bolted down is suddenly not bolted down at all.
Right.
So for my example I used is a 30 cubic yard dumpster, about 22 feet wide, 22 foot wide, 7.5 foot long. The other way, wide and long, switch them. And 6 feet tall. I have wide written down twice in my notes. And I'm like, 22.5 wide, 7.5 wide. Stop me,
so
please.
Wide. That's what they call a double wide dumpster.
Double wide dumpster. 30 cubic yard. Weighs about 7,000 pounds when it's full. Let's say we have a fairly windy day at 40 miles an hour wind. It's going to exert a force of 4 pounds per square foot on the front face of the dumpster. And multiplying that out by the area and the drag coefficient, that is a total of 528 pounds of force on our dumpster.
Yeesh.
The frictional force of 7,000 pounds times the coefficient of friction of ice of the 0.05 is only 350 pounds. So we are going to start sliding. And once we are sliding, our coefficient of friction actually drops from 0.05 to 0.03 because we're in dynamic territory. So the force difference is like 200 pounds isn't actually that much. So it's admittedly a slow pickup. But after a few minutes, we do hit our top speed of 15 miles an hour, which for a 7,000-pound dumpster is kind of a hazard.
And if you hit a hill or something, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, that does not count the fact if you find a hill to slide down, in which case it's going to be even worse.
All
and
bets
that's
are
like
off.
probably that was like the most stable object I could think of that wasn't actually already bolted down. Like, your trash can's gone, your recycle bins are gone, like any litter or anything else on the ground is just gone.
It's all going to go into the car pool at the bottom of the city, the low point.
Yeah, and probably like small animals aren't going to appreciate it much either. Like, they're also probably going to be sliding around. Like, it's going to be like a dumpster's going to go by and then just like 15 squirrels.
Oh my god, even disregarding wind, cats are going to be hilarious. They're just not going to have a good time.
Oh my god, yes. You just imagine like looking out the window and everything is moving left.
What does the hat have to do with the ice, though?
Cats with a C.
Oh.
Meow.
I was confused.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
I was like, hats blow around without ice.
Okay, Ben, what are you talking about? All right, so yeah, it's gonna be don't go out on windy days. Just stay inside. Safety problems. Another safety problem we're gonna have is rivers. So right now, approximately 33% of all rain that lands on the ground turns into surface runoff, with 67% of it being absorbed into the ground. When the ground is covered in ice, the ground is no longer permeable. So 100% of the rain is going to be surface runoff. So this is going to effectively triple the volume of our river systems. So I think it's actually the implications are worse than this because, like, not only is it going to be triple the amount of water that does get absorbed, like, also it's going to be just like not being stopped by, like, you know, shrubs and plants and absorbed by all this stuff. Like, it's going to be moving around more.
Mm-hmm.
So conservative, triple the amount of water. Now, big rivers, obviously, big problem's going to have to move back. Not only will the rivers be bigger, they're going to be much faster. So, one, the bigger the river is, the faster it flows because less of the river is in contact, less percentage of the river is in contact with the riverbed. So, like, yeah, you expand outwards, but you also expand, like, up. And more of the water is just next to other water. And speaking of frictional resistance, there's going to be way less friction on a smooth ice than on, like, a bunch of pebbles and rocks and, you know, algae and plants and stuff that are on the riverbed. So it's like Mississippi River, like, double the speed, triple the size, and just send it down down the way.
What I'm hearing is awesome water slide.
Whitewater rafting will be cool.
Very, very cool, actually. Actually, quite frigid.
But I think this problem's going to gradually get worse. And I don't know the timescale of this because I don't have a supercomputer. But what Ben was saying about it being really cold. So basically, all the water that is going to flow and stay on top of the surface instead of getting absorbed in the ground is basically just going to go to the lowest point and pool there. And now it's going to freeze until that's no longer the lowest point anymore. So now the water's still going to flow, you know, it's going to be just flowing onto the next section. And eventually we're kind of just gradually going to smooth out the entire landscape of the United States, or the whole world, really. And eventually you kind of just have the highest point, and it's just going to, like, cascade down from there in a constant torrent of water.
Sounds fun.
It's not going to be super fun there. So the rivers problem, I think, is huge, and it's not going to be great. I do have one more thing I thought of, like, just like half an hour before we start recording. So this is not fleshed out. This does not have research behind it. But I was thinking, because the rainwater is not going into the ground and staying on top of the ice, the ground is actually eventually going to dry out.
That's interesting.
So my first concern was, structurally, you know, our foundation's screwed. Our building's going to fall over.
Right.
But actually, drier ground is stronger than wet ground. So that's not a problem. What's interesting, though, is that the water makes up a lot of volume in the soil. So as it dries out, the ground is actually going to shrink, and it's going to shrink away from the ice.
So there's going to be like a void.
There's going to be a gap between, like, the ice layer and the ground layer. And it's actually probably going to be pretty big because it's, the entire, amount of ground until you hit bedrock that shrinks by a sizable percentage.
Right.
And I think this is actually where you could have all your, like, burrowing animals and your plants and all the shit that was going to die because they couldn't get through the ground. They're just going to live in, like, a protective shell now. In, like, this weird, like, utopia between the ice and the ground.
That's pretty cool.
And this is what I really, like, wish I had, like, another week to just, like, flesh out this idea. Because, like, we could survive better, too. Because, like, without plants, like, we don't have the oxygen. But we could just, like, poke a hole in this oxygen-rich sphere below us and just, like, suck that up and, like, bring it back.
So you don't know how much space we would have under there?
I don't know how much space we would have under there. The water table is pretty high on the ground. Like, that's just off the top of my head. So the water table's pretty high. It's usually, like, 10 to 20 feet down.
Yeah.
And then it's usually, like, maybe anywhere from, like, 50 to 200 feet to bedrock on average. So you have about 100 foot of ground that's shrinking, and the water percent ratio in ground is maybe like 8 to 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably get like 6 feet, about 6 to 8 feet.
That's a good amount. You can stand like upright.
Yeah, you could, like, it's gonna be like, I imagine it like the movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like when they shrink down to the lawn and they're just like this pretty constant like 6 foot of plants and shrubbery. And then just, like, stops. And I think that's what it's going to be like. Because sunlight can still get through. There's still going to be all the plants for all the bugs that are burrowing. Like, the ecosystem's still going to be there.
I don't understand your Honey, I Shrunk the Kids metaphor.
I don't know why. That's just the mental image I have. It works perfectly. So
okay.
That's on you for not getting it. Communication is famously a one-way street, and you're the idiot for not getting it. But yeah, the world's gonna be cool, and not a nice pun. I didn't mean to do that. The world's gonna be awesome.
We've done that plenty of times this episode.
Yep.
Mainly Ben's done it.
Yeah, I like puns. I can't deny it.
Oh my god, Penn, you the ants puns while we were setting up, like, doing this episode this week.
There were a lot of ants puns.
Like, all the conversations, you just had to put ant onto every single fucking word.
Not all. It was just one day where I got pretty into it.
You literally called the show Absurd Hypotheticals.
Well, no, hold on. Chris called it Absurd Hypotheticals, and I corrected them as Hypotheticals.
Well, you guys can both go screw yourselves. We will try to keep it pun-free until next week, where we answer the following questions. Describe your perfect supervillain lair. And what if each day, a random body part was swapped with an animal's? If you have any questions, comments, or your own hypothetical idea you want us to answer, let us know. You can reach us by email at absurdhypotheticals@gmail.com. Send us a tweet at absurdhype, that's HYPE hype. Visit our website, www.nerdchomp.com/absurdhypotheticals. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps out the show and lets us keep making it for you.